Hey YouTube, Film Geek here, and today I'm counting down 10 of my all-time favorite cult horror films. The way this list is going to work, I'm going to focus on the two types of cult films, and that is the so bad they're good and the hidden gems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about one hidden gem, and then I'm going to talk about another so bad it's good film. So we're going to start this list off with number 5, and that is Lair of the White Worm. Directed by Ken Russell, starring Hugh Grant and Peter Capaldi. The story follows Peter Capaldi, who is an archaeology student who uncovers some kind of big skull thing, which fits into this legend in the town that he's in about a giant worm slash dragon, snake, whatever. Hugh Grant plays the descendant of the person who slayed this worm. So basically all this boils down to is let's just get to the gist of this, shall we? So Peter Capaldi and Hugh Grant are trying to stop a snake person from taking things over. Alright? A lot of times people get this movie confused with vampire films because of fangs and stuff and biting, but really it's more of like a venomous snake thing. They're not vampires per se. Yes, they do bite people, but they inject venom into them, which transforms them into snake people. So again, like I said, they're not vampires. They just kind of have the same thing going for them with the you know, the fangs and the biting. That's about it. There's a lot of these crazy trip scenes where people come in contact with the venom from the snake people and it makes them trip balls, and it is crazy imagery, man. This movie is anything but your typical horror film. If you can get through a little bit of boredom, it is a little slow to get going, but once the snake people thing really starts going, this movie is hard to take your eyes off of. Check it out on Tubi TV right now, and that is 1988's Lair of the White Worm. Alright, number 5 for my so bad it's good film, 1992's Sleepwalker.
Pull over, motherfucker! Pull over! What the fuck?
This movie is crazy, alright? It's written by Stephen King, and it has some of the most astoundingly amazing cameos for any movie in this kind of genre known to mankind. Number 1, Mark Hamill. Number 2, the writer himself, Stephen King. Number 3, Clive Barker. Number 4, playing a cop, Ron Perlman. Number 5, again for why not, John Landis. And finally, the last of the crazy cameos that are in Sleepwalker, number 6, Joe Dante. Mr. Gremlins himself, the director of Gremlins, Joe Dante. What's going on with these cameos? So what is Sleepwalker? I don't know, man. I don't know. I was really hoping that somebody could leave in the comments section. If any of you out there could tell me what is Sleepwalkers, I would appreciate it. Okay, so they are some kind of cat gods, I think? I don't know. There is no limits to their powers. So anyways, there's Cat God, and he is trying to lure in this girl who is going to keep his mother, the other cat god, alive and immortal. This was written by Stephen King. So many things about this movie that make no sense whatsoever. There's no boundaries to the way the cat people, if that's what they are, their powers work. They can shapeshift themselves, they can shapeshift other objects, they have superhuman strength, I don't know, man. It's like they just keep changing the rules throughout the movie. This is a great midnight flick to sit down with your friends and goof on and do some riffing because, man, this thing is something to behold. 1992's Sleepwalkers, written by Stephen King, and it cameos from a bunch of people that make no damn sense. Next up, number 4 in the hidden gems category of my all-time favorite hidden gem cult horror films is Eight-Legged Freaks.
I'm afraid of heights.
Eight-Legged Freaks is starring David Arquette and a very young Scarlett Johansson. This is a real early Scarlett Johansson film, by the way, guys. It's a story about giant spiders. This is a classic love letter to the 1950s and 60s horror films about giant whatever. This film, toxic waste is dumped into a local area, which just happens to be a guy who collects a bunch of venomous spiders. Now, what happens when you add toxic waste to spiders? Well, this time, guys, you didn't get superpowers. Oh no, those spiders became enormous, started terrorizing the local town where David Arquette is. And let me tell you guys, David Arquette ain't gonna have none of that, and he's fighting all of those eight-legged freaks. I absolutely love the giant monster genre. I am a big fan of Godzilla, and I mean, it just goes from there. You throw a giant monster in something, I'm there, man. I'm there opening day, because I want to see some giant something just out of the ordinary giant something eating something. And let me tell you, for 2002, guys, these spiders look great. There's a lot of good special effects in this film. It really is. I mean, yeah, okay, by today's standards, I'm sure you'll look at this movie and tell me I'm crazy for saying it looks good, but remember in 2002, this one looked good. This is early CGI that was done right. This kind of movie follows your B-rate movie tropes to a T. That's what I mean by love letter. This is the kind of film that should be a midnight monster mash film where you're stuffing popcorn in your face and you're hiding behind a pillow or a quilt that your grandma made on the couch. So if you're into that sort of thing and you've never seen 2002's Eight-Legged Freaks, check it out, man, because it is currently for rent on all your normal rental services, Vudu, YouTube, Prime, for about $2.99, $3.99. Definitely worth the watch. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. That's 2002's Eight-Legged Freaks. So what's my number 4 so bad it's good horror cult film? That's freaking easy, man. That is 1990's The Suckling.
I mean, what is it?
The whole house is like this.
It's dead.
Yeah.
The Suckling. All right. Woohoo, boy, get ready, folks, because you're going to love the description of this one. It's about a young, loving couple that happen upon an illegal abortion clinic that's also at a whorehouse. So the couple goes in to, well, what you do at an abortion clinic. And when they throw away the fetus, it, well, you know what it does, folks? It does what everything does in these kind of movies. Well, it falls in toxic waste. It terrorizes the people of said whorehouse. All right, now, like I say a lot, this movie came out in 1990, but I am 100% positive, and I didn't really find any definite answer to this, but it's definitely, in my opinion, this film was filmed way before 1990. It may have been released in 1990, but it was definitely filmed much earlier than that. Like I said, guys, this is a monster film. Again, toxic waste making something giant. See what I'm doing? I'm trying to kind of find connections with some of these. It's not working with all of them, but I did it here with the spiders and then the fetus, the toxic waste. So at the end of the day, yeah, this movie's terrible. It's really bad, but you know, it's entertaining. You will put this on and you're gonna laugh your ass off. I assure you, you're not gonna stop laughing at this movie. From the acting, from everything. And you know what's really unusual about this movie? The creature design for the monster is actually pretty good. It really is kind of, I wouldn't say scary. There's nothing really scary about this movie, but I do really enjoy the creature design. That's always something important with me on a monster movie. I mean, really, the script could be terrible, the acting could be terrible, and as long as that creature design is interesting to me, I'm gonna really like your freaking monster movie. I'm just that easily entertained. This movie is currently on Tubi TV. Check it out. 1990s or much earlier than that, The Suckling. That brings me to my number 3 hidden gem horror cult film, Nightbreed.
Who's that girl? Shuna Sassy. Why? I dreamt about her.
I dreamt him.
Who is your advocate?
I am.
Nightbreed is kind of a really cool twist on the monster movie genre, and that is in this movie, the humans are the bad guys and the monsters are the good guys. And that something weird's going on in this graveyard. Well, guess what? There is something weird going on in this graveyard, because underneath it is an entire society of, well, for a lack of better terms, guys, monsters. An entire community of monsters. Different tribes of different mystical creatures throughout time that have been wiped out by the human race have all come together in this one spot to hide. Alright, so our main character, Boone, tries to find these guys and in the process save them from a crazy slasher type dude who's trying to, well, expose them and get humans to, again, completely wipe them out. This movie is directed by Clive Barker, and it's a really unique and interesting horror, action, film, slasher. I don't know, man. This is one of those films that when you watch it, you're like, I don't know what this is that I'm watching, but I'm really enjoying it. I keep mentioning this slasher element about this movie, and this is the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to Nightbreed, and that is who plays the slasher. And that is master of body horror, David Cronenberg, well known for The Fly, The Naked Lunch, and the list goes on body horror style films. He's playing the slasher in this movie. Alright, so if you want to check out Nightbreed, as again, I like to say, I need a sponsorship here, wink wink, nudge nudge, know what I mean, and that is this film is right now on Tubi TV. Check it out, guys. Brings me to number 3 in the so bad it's good genre, and that is one, guys, whoo boy, who, this is probably why I drink. 1965's Orgy of the Dead. Orgy of the Dead is written by Ed Wood. Yes, that Ed Wood. Notice I said written. It is not directed by Ed Wood, but this one is written by Ed Wood. Famous for, of course, Glen or Glenda, or everyone else's favorite, Plan 9 from Outer Space. The movie is directed by A.C. Stephen, which some of you might know if you were into stag films of the 1960s. He did what was mostly known as cutie nudies, and it's part of something called the Nudie Cuties, which were these films that were put out on the skies of something else, but when in reality, it was just a striptease and dancing put to film. This is a little lesser known little thing he did. Again, like I said, I use the term horror movie very, very loosely in this. And honestly, this movie's only in my list because it has a very special place in my heart. And if you're watching, you know who you are. Margold. And as it keeps going, folks, this movie is available on Tubi TV right now. Check it out. That's Orgy of the Dead, 1965, written by Ed Wood, the master of the B film. Now we're at my number 2 pick of my all-time favorite cult horror film, and that is 1995's Demon Knight.
Humans! You're not worth the flesh you're printed on! Fuck this cowboy shit! You fucking ho dunk, po dunk, well then there, motherfuckers!
Starring Billy Zane, William Sadler, and also has some of the all-time best backup co-stars known to mankind. Just to mention one, the great Dick Miller. The king of the B film, Dick Miller, guys. This is a great film. What is Demon Knight? Demon Knight is a story of a drifter who shows up at a seedy hotel kind of thing in the middle of the night, and while he's there, lo and behold, a bunch of demons show up and hold everybody in this place hostage, trying to get this guy who's hiding inside. This is the kind of movie that I really don't want to give a lot away, so just the synopsis alone is drifter in a hotel, demons are trying to get him, people that live in the hotel try to protect the person who's inside. That's all you need. This is part of the Tales from the Crypt series. If some of you have seen the anthology horror TV show on HBO, Tales from the Crypt, this was a full-length feature film that they put out, and it is fan-freaking-tastic. This is one of the all-time best performances that you will ever see out of Billy Zane. He plays such a great character in this movie, and honestly, everybody does a great job. One of the things that's good about this movie that really sets it apart as a B movie is the acting talent that's in this film. A lot of them are just extremely well-known character actors that you will watch and go, that's that guy! I've seen that guy in something! You can find it right now. It's currently for rent for $3.99 on Prime, and it's definitely worth $3.99, guys. Then, what is my number 2 so bad it's good film? Well, that's not hard at all, guys. That is Chud.
You're asking for it.
I've been asking for it all my life. Just never get it.
Shouldn't you boys be on duty somewhere?
Look, man, Chud's not going to be winning any awards anytime soon, but Mr. Wet Bandit himself, Daniel Craig. And what about this film? This is yet another movie about toxic waste turning things into monsters. It is. What is going on with my list today? I didn't realize this when I was making this list. Apparently I have a typo. Alright, so Chud follows the story about these monsters that are living in the sewers beneath New York, I think. I don't remember what city they're in. I'm pretty sure it's New York. Anyways, so these monsters are living down there. They call them cannibalistic. However, they're eating humans. I can't remember if they're mutated humans or they're just monsters. Monsters because of demons and toxic waste. Toxic waste did all sorts of crazy stuff in the 80s, turned us all into a bunch of cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. You know, there's also something that I want to bring up about this movie, and then I'm going to move on, and that is John Goodman actually has a very early film appearance in this thing. I mean, it's one of those like, holy crap, that's John Goodman, and then he's dead. So yeah, like I said, guys, Chud is very simply monsters living in the sewer, coming up into the non-sewer and killing people, and then people going down to the sewer to stop the monsters in the sewer from coming up into the sewer. So there's killing on top, there's killing on bottom, everybody's like, there's just a big misunderstanding, man. That brings us to number 1. Number 1, what is my favorite hidden gem cult classic horror movie? 1994's In the Mouth of Madness.
What's the claim? Sutter Kane's missing. Huh? Sutter Kane.
Do you read Sutter Kane?
In the Mouth of Madness is directed by John Carpenter and starring Sam Neill, and it's the story of a man who is an insurance investigator. Alright, so Sam Neill plays this insurance investigator, and he has to go and try to find this horror novelist by the name of Sutter Kane. Now, Sutter Kane kind of became a huge success out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden he went missing. The publishing company who publishes Sutter Kane files an insurance claim, and Sam Neill, the insurance investigator, has to go try to find and figure out what happened to Sutter Kane. A great, great movie. It's directed by John Carpenter, as I stated, and if you've been following my channel, you know that I'm a massive John Carpenter fan. I love the way this man shoots horror. This movie got a lot of slack when it came out because it's a very unusual way to tell a story. There's a lot of flashbacks, there's flash forwards, there are parts where you don't know if it's real or if it's fantasy. I mean, this movie really messes with your brain. It deserves a second watch. When you watch this movie, give it a few days, go back to it, watch it again, and you will be blown away with the amount of stuff that you notice. In the Mouth of Madness is part of what John Carpenter calls his Apocalypse Trilogy. Thing is number 1, Prince of Darkness is number 2, and then number 3 is In the Mouth of Madness. It's really funny, when I was in college, a group of us went and saw this movie in theaters, and once it was over, we started having this kind of free, discussion and everything. I went to school with surprisingly a lot of people who were into theater and radio and media and stuff. Big surprise, right? So after the movie was over, we had a nice long discussion, and the girl that I was dating at the time was really freaked out. I mean, massively freaked out by the fact of that at any given time, perception could be twisted and turned. Those who think they're sane can actually be insane, and those who are considered insane are actually the sane ones. And for some reason, that really messed with her brain. So this is one of John Carpenter's little lesser known films. People actually don't even know that he directed this movie. It just doesn't feel like a John Carpenter movie. One thing that throws people off the most with this is that Carpenter is known for his synthesizer soundtracks. So a lot of people don't realize that he did do the soundtrack in this film, but he wanted to do something a little more rock and guitar oriented. So he stepped away from that synth track that we all know and love Carpenter for, which kind of threw people off the trail. Right now, this movie's for rent on YouTube, Prime. Check it out, guys. 1994's In the Mouth of Madness, directed by John Carpenter, starring Sam Neill. That brings me to my final so bad it's good horror movie. That is 1979's Tourist Trap. Trap is about a bunch of, I think they're teenagers. Movies like this always have teenagers, so let's just, for the sake of argument, let's call them teenagers, okay? They're driving around in their Volkswagen thing. I'm already digging this movie. They end up at this wax museum or mannequin museum. I don't, but anyways, mannequin figures, wax, whatever. And they're slowly pecked off one by a slasher or the mannequins themselves. I mean, it's really strange in a lot of ways because you're not 100% certain if this guy is a technical genius. Is he using some kind of supernatural powers that power the mannequins that come to life? You never really know. Some of you might actually recognize the villain in this story, and that is Chuck Connors, also known as the Rifleman. And if you watch a lot of old TV, the Rifleman was an old black and white Western back in the day. Talk to Grandma and Grandpa about it. They'll tell you who the Rifleman was. Again, I don't want to ruin things for you guys. I don't want to tell you too much about Tourist Trap because if I do, a lot of the fun of this movie is going to go away. I will tell you a story about this movie. As I've mentioned before, my girlfriend, Charming Amy, and I, we live in downtown Kansas City, and we live right down the street from a movie theater and Alamo Draft House. So we would go see a lot of Alamo Draft films. And one of the things I loved about that theater is that they show a lot of retro films. And lo and behold, guys, they were doing a special screening of Tourist Trap. She was going into it absolutely fresh. And I was excited to see my favorite, just terrible film on the big screen. Meanwhile, she was seeing this movie for the absolute first time, and so was a lot of people in the audience. That was absolutely amazing. Being around so many people that came to see this movie, and I mean, the theater was fairly well packed, and they came to see this movie just because of legend alone. I talked to a lot of people and they had never heard of this film. Right now, if you have the streaming service for Full Moon, because they own the rights to Tourist Trap now, you can find Tourist Trap on the Full Moon streaming channel. I also found it on, yet again, our good friends at Tubi TV. Brings us to the end of this video, guys. So if you like what you're seeing, please support the channel by liking and subscribing. And check me out on Facebook. I've got a Facebook page. You can check me out there. I put up postings about my videos. Every now and then I give updates about what I might be doing with my channel. So check me out on Facebook. That's The Film Geek on Facebook, YouTube. Like and subscribe. And always, as I keep telling you guys, keep watching movies, folks. Because you know I'm gonna.